Hello, how you doing? Welcome, I'm Yalek, and today we're going to be doing another Boom Beach Fat Fingers video. Fat Fingers is a 5-man task force. For those of you who don't know us, there are only 4 of us here now, but let's see who... Oh, Dot What. Dot What is also... He left a little while ago to make a spot for intel dumping. Anyway, had a great op the other day, and it was max force points day. It was 5 blue lines, and it was especially good because at the end of that operation, and we're going to jump screens here for just a second. Currently we're sitting at around the number 10 on the leaderboard, but at the end of that operation, we managed to jump up to number 3 on the 5-man leaderboard. This was May 8th, 2021, 8:45. So, that is the highest, not the highest that this task force has ever been on the leaderboard. It did once reach number 2, but that was a very long time ago, and nobody who is here was there back then. Last go round, previously on this push, we'd gotten to number 6. Last go round with myself, Sven, and a couple other players, we got to the number 6 position. So that number 2 happened before anybody on this team was a part of this team. Which means that number 3 is the highest position that we have reached in a long time, and that's the highest position that I believe I've ever reached on the leaderboard in a 5-man team in my life. I believe the same would go for Sven. He's I think he's been on a number 1 team for every other task force size except 5-man. So we're going to take a moment and congratulate ourselves on this operation here, the one that you see on the left-hand side, because we might as well, because this one, the one that you see active in the middle of the screen, 3 hours and 1 minute, is a complete fucking disaster. This Titanic is awful. Really, really bad. It'd be easy if you had the GBE for like 9 shocks, but you don't. Centaur, I assume we're sabotaging here, because Centaur is not great either. Sometimes you can solo them. This one does not look all that friendly. We have Cooker for the 298, and Franchise is proposing that we try Cooker in 2, which is it's a pretty desperate play, I think. This looks to me like a pretty standard Cooker in 3. 2, I'd believe it when I saw it, but so that's not great. Oh, and disassembler also sucks. So like this whole operation is going to be bad. So we're going to celebrate the successes while we have them and while we can. So we'll start with Fran, who took the 298 for this particular op, the good op, not today's op. Laser on the beach. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4 shocks. And health isn't all that high. He does have a lot to farm over here, and he's going to take advantage of that. This is a play that he frequently makes. I always approve of pretty much any GBE farming, but more normally mine is with bombardiers. He brought the Zuka so he could kill as much as possible as quickly as possible. He uses a flare point on right here on Dioxin that most other people don't use. Most people use the flare point just back here behind the boom cannon, right next to that line on the ground. But this one works for him, so I've tried it a couple times. It didn't work as well for me, so I've gone back to the one behind the boom cannon. Nice little walk. Perfect smokes. And I knew I spoke too soon. I was like, wait, there was something. Yeah, so he's lost the delay on some things because Brick popped out of smoke. Not sure what happened there. Either way, we know he killed it. Not a big deal. Perfect 1 smoke landing. Shocks a little early to account for the delay. Ignores the flotsam cannon, which is probably just as well. You can shock it with these mortars up here, but I guess he just worried about the mortars because the Flossom cannon isn't going to kill enough Zookas from over there to be worth the time. He had a little bit of extra GBE, I think. How many? 1, 2, 3... 3 medkits? Yeah, a bunch of extra medkits. It's the celebratory GBE I always talk about. Sven Slinken up next, 262 base. Anything funky about this? There's a SEMO, but he's not going to go that way. If I recall, yeah, there is something, actually, there is something interesting about this hit. I'm trying to think ahead here before I, go ahead and jinx another hit. We're going to look at the parking spot that he chooses. And I'm pretty sure it was done deliberately, but it's also done slightly differently from the way most other people do it. But we'll talk about that in a second when he gets there. First, he has to get there, and I think Machine Gun saw him for a second there, but everything else about his walk was good. Now, here, most people will flare up a little bit closer to the core, so they will flare up right on the front edge of the building house statue here. You notice that Sven has dropped his flare about 2 tiles lower. And at first I thought, gee, that's going to make them spread a whole lot, because the Zookas are going to have to step forward, and in doing so, they're going to arrange themselves into an arc at their firing distance, which is like 7.3 tiles or something like that. So having to step forward, they're not going to stay in a tight little group like they are now. They're going to spread out. Which is going to happen, and you're going to see that in a second. However, I'm pretty sure there was a purpose for it. Now, you'll see he flares the core, and the Zookas are going to start spreading. You can see that arc starting to form, and of course, when that happens, some of the Zookas step out of smoke, costing you delay. However, I believe he sits back there on purpose to stay away from these mortars, and he had the GBE for 2 more shocks. I'm sure he knew that. So if you sit a little further back, you're out of range of the mortars, you don't have to, you just don't have to worry about them. So when you park a little bit closer in, when you flare to the building house statue, the mortars will nick some of your girls at the corners. You can always throw a critter up somewhere over here to try to distract that, or distract the mortars and keep that from being a problem, but anyway. So first thought was, oh geez, that's going to spread a whole lot, and second thought was, well, maybe there's a point there, because, So anyway, I believe that was intentional, but just a little different way of playing it. This was a hit I basically had to do on my way out the door, so I was rushing a little bit, but it all worked out perfectly fine. I believe I lost like 9 Zookas on this hit, something like that. I would say I was rushing, but it wasn't a bad hit. The only thing that annoys me is I think I counted 5 of them over here. I did not bother to critter on the boom cannons, because depending on my GBE situation, I'll be upfront about this, I did not calculate the GBE ahead of time, so I wasn't sure what I was going to have when I got to the core. If I needed 5 shocks, I could go with 5 shocks, but if I only had enough for 4 shocks and a critter, I was saving the critter for that because of this blaster over here. I suppose you could just ignore the blaster. The health on this was, I forget, I think it was insanely high. And now I can't click the statue. 729, so before 1.6 and a half-ish. Not huge health. I suppose you could just ignore the blaster entirely, but I didn't want to do that. So I was saving the critters over here, and nuts. Well, we're not going to be able to count, but I talked through the part where the boom cannons were shooting. Anyway, I believe the boom cannons picked off 4 of my Zookas right there, 5 of my Zookas right there, meaning that the rest of the hit, I lost only 4. And I was like, and I had tons and tons of GBE up at the core, so that wasn't a concern. If I had calculated, I probably would not have had like an either-or plan like that. It would have been, fixed one way or another. But otherwise, beautiful hit. Stupid boom cannons took more of my girls than anything else. Can't complain. So, want to get up nice and high here because you want to stay away from these rocket launchers in particular down low. Don't want to be in range of those. Since I had a bunch of GBE here at the core. I just went with the 5 shocks. Didn't, for example, miss this flamethrower up in the corner, which I usually love to do, so didn't lose the delay or anything like that. So, I mean, for a hit, it was rushed on my way out the door. It wasn't too bad. It was a pretty standard Callisto, to be honest, but this was not standard. I'm a perfectionist. That's was it? Yeah, 9 Zookas. I'm a perfectionist. I can't help myself. Anyway, this was not standard at all, and we had talked about this in chat, so you can see that we had heavy choppers on the main base during this time, which, thank God they've gone away, because those things are incredibly powerful for PvP. It's just stupidly overpowered. They do not belong on the main base. However, people had a lot of fun with them in operations. So I took a look at this Strange Attractors, and I asked Dot if he would do it with the heavy choppers, because certain things cannot fire on them. The grappler can't fire on them, doesn't recognize them. Shock launcher cannot fire on them, doesn't recognize them. So I figured you could drop the choppers here and then gather up a bit of extra GBE, drop bombardiers, and head over to the left-hand side. The choppers drop all of these heavies. I'm not sure. I asked, I don't know if anyone answered. It went out of chat. It was in a different task force, but I asked what the rule is for the heavy choppers dropping heavies. Do they drop a fixed number, and then when they explode, they drop a bunch more? But you know, did they just drop a fixed number of heavies before stopping? They eventually do stop with the heavies, but shock launcher, you know, I'm not going to worry about these things because you've got so many heavies. Similarly, over here, this grappler is going to have a lot of work trying to kill all these heavies. As it turns out, it does end up being a little bit closer than I thought, so good for Dot. We can speed this up a little bit. However, I mean, the grappler does have to work through every single one of the heavies before it can see. Can't see the choppers, but it can see the bombardiers. So he's just decided to go around the shock launcher. This was probably fun to do, and it was definitely fun to watch. And I was very appreciative that he was willing to take the risk on this, because if I was wrong, it was going to be my fault. Anyway, so you see, I mean, there's a ton of heavies here. However, he does have to burn through a whole lot of shield. So in chat, we had talked about, I think this was around 4 million or 5 million, I want to say. I forget. And I'm not doing the math on that. But, so the question in chat was, do you go with 4 boats of choppers, 4 boats of bombardiers, or do you go with 3 boats of choppers, 5 boats of bombardiers? 5 boats of bombardiers gives you more damage, but 4 boats of heavy choppers gives you more heavies. At this point, you can see that he is starting to run very, very low on heavies. Shield is down, though. He's still got a couple left, and he's still got, the bombardiers are just eating through it because that's what they do. But it did end up being a bit closer than I thought it was going to be. So, I'm guessing that made him a little nervous at the end. So anyway, thanks, Dot. I wanted to see that hit, and he did it that way for me. So, last hit, Argus on duality, and at this point we were already in celebration mode, because this is a nice, friendly duality. It's about as standard a duality as you're going to get. Not too high health, 4, 8, it's just under 1 million. So, you know, this is sleepwalking for these guys, you know. Maybe on your team it's not sleepwalking, but on my team this is sleepwalking. So we already knew we were in good. He's going to take care of business here. You know that because you saw the blue lines. Nice little move at the shore there, by the way. He flared just to this line. So the Zookas get to that line and they turn. I don't know if you noticed that. Actually, you know what? We're just into the hit, so let's go back to the beginning of that and watch it one more time. Watch that flare and watch what the Zookas do. This was a trick that took me a long time to learn. So, he's got to clear his minds again. And he's going to flare over to this line, I believe, on the ground here. And when his Zookas get to the flare, they are going to turn turn, yep, so right in the middle there, and start heading up towards the defenses. So that way, when he flares them up as a group, they're not stretched out in a big line like they are on the shore right now. They're going to make a little bit more of an L formation. You see how they're starting to walk up? And so there's a narrower group of them, so they get under smoke faster. Very well done. Professionally handled, as you would expect. And here you get there, you win. Unless you like, have a stroke or a sneezing fit or something, you're fine. So 3 volleys, crushed it. And that was a really good day. It was a good day anyway. It was a better day because at the end of that day we were number 3, and now we are under our 3-hour window, which means we are into double dip territory. Which means I'm going to have to boost up and try to figure something out with these ridiculous layouts. So, wish me luck on that. I don't think we'll be finishing at number 3 when we're done with this operation. So we're down to 11 now. Anyway, that was a good day. Today's not going to be a great day, so we might as well, enjoy the good day while it's still on the operation log. Anyway, I'm Yalik. Like, thumbs up, all that stuff. I'll catch you later. Take care.